Hello students, today we'll be discussing about nitrogen cycle. I'm Dr. F. A. Lone, Professor Division of Environmental Science, Coast Kashmir. The broad outline of this lecture is that we need to first study what is nitrogen cycle, what are the different forms of nitrogen, what are the different roles of nitrogen in this universe, sources of nitrogen, importance of nitrogen cycle, how does nitrogen cycle operates, stages of nitrogen cycle, like nitrogen fixation process, ammonification, nitrification, assimilation, denitrification, sedimentation, and finally conclusion. As far as the nitrogen cycle is concerned, nitrogen, as we know, that it makes up almost 78% of our atmosphere and it's important to all living things. Nitrogen cycle is a biogeochemical process which transforms the inert nitrogen present in the atmosphere to a more usable form for living organisms. Plants provide the nitrogen that animals require. As far as the different forms of nitrogen are concerned, all of us know that inorganic nitrogen is found in the form of nitrogen gas, which is in abundance in the atmosphere. Then we also have nitrogen in the form of inorganic reduced forms like ammonia and ammonium, inorganic oxidized forms like nitrogen oxides, nitric acid, nitrous oxide, and nitrates. Then we also have nitrogen in the form of organic compounds like urea, amines, and the proteins. And as far as the role of nitrogen is concerned, it's very important and essential for the formation of the amino acids and the proteins in the cells. Nucleic acids, purines, pyrimidines, they all need nitrogen. It's also an important component of the cell walls. Nitrogen, nitroacetylglucosamine is an important constituent for the cell wall of the bacteria. And it's also an important constituent of the chlorophyll, where the photosynthesis takes place. Plants and bacteria use nitrogen in the form of ammonium or the nitrates. It serves as an electron acceptor in anaerobic environment. And nitrogen is often the most limiting nutrient in soil and the water. Then the different source of the nitrogen in the universe. The main source of nitrogen is the atmosphere, and which includes atmospheric precipitations, then geological sources, then agricultural land also, like the nitrogen fixation in organic fertilizers, crop residues, organic fertilizers, they all have the nitrogen. And also from the livestock, like the animal residues of ruminants like cows, sheep, goat, and poultry operations, urban waste, and then also the burning of the fossil fuels. So these are all the different sources of the nitrogen. And then we have also got during the lightning also there is the formation of the nitrogen. Nitrogen of the atmosphere gets converted into different forms. So these are all the sources of the nitrogen. Then the importance of nitrogen cycle. It helps plants to synthesize chlorophyll from the nitrogen compounds. It helps in converting inert nitrogen gas into a usable form for the plants through the biochemical processes. In the process of ammonification, the bacteria help in decomposing the animal and plant matter, which indirectly helps to clean up the environment. Nitrates and nitrites are released into the soil, which help in enrichment of the soil with the necessary nutrients separate for cultivation. And nitrogen is an integral component of the cell and it forms many crucial compounds and important biomolecules. Nitrogen is also cycled by human activities such as the combustion of fuels and the use of nitrogen fertilizers. These processes increase the level of nitrogen containing compounds in the atmosphere. The fertilizers containing nitrogen are washed away in lakes, rivers, and result in the eutrophication. So, these are all different aspects of the importance of the nitrogen cycle in the universe. Then, nitrogen cycle consists of the following steps basically. One is the nitrogen fixation, ammonification, nitrification, nitrogen assimilation by the plants, then denitrification, where you will find that decomposition takes place, and sedimentation also. And these are all the different types of the nitrogen cycle steps. So if you will find that this is the diagrammatic representation of the nitrogen cycle, you will see that the lightning is there, which converts some of the nitrogen into nitrogen fixing bacteria. Then will help its conversion into ammonia. Then there will be different ammonification processes, then nitrification processes, then different types of the assimilations in the plants, and then different types of the decomposition process, what we call as denitrification, where the nitrogen again goes into the atmosphere. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the nitrogen cycle. Then, as far as the nitrogen fixation concerned, there are usually three different types of the nitrogen fixation. Number one is the biological nitrogen fixation, that we already know that nitrogen is not used directly from the air by plants and animals, but bacteria like Rhizobium and blue-green algae. These transform the unusable form of nitrogen into other compounds that are more readily usable. And these nitrogen compounds get fixed in the soil by these microbes. Then there's one more type, what we call as atmospheric fixation. It is a natural phenomenon where the energy of lightning breaks the nitrogen into nitrogen oxides, which are then used by the plants. Then industrial nitrogen fixation. It is a man-made alternative that aids in nitrogen fixation by the use of ammonia. Ammonia is produced by the direct combination of nitrogen and hydrogen. Later, it's converted into various fertilizers such as urea. So these are the different types of the process of the nitrogen fixation. So we will first discuss what is basically biological nitrogen fixation. The entire process of nitrogen fixation is completed by symbiotic bacteria, which are known as diazotrophs. Azotobacterium and Rhizobium also have a major role in this process. These bacteria consist of nitrogen enzymes, which has the capability to combine gaseous nitrogen with hydrogen to form ammonia. The process of nitrogen fixation is carried out naturally in the soil with the nodules in the plant's root system. Like we have got different types of the symbiotic bacteria like Rhizobium, then symbiotic blue-green algae like the species of nostoc and the Anabina, and then there are some free-living bacteria also like Azotobacter, Clostridium, Direxia, Rhodospirillum, etc. So these are the different biological nitrogen fixation processes going on in this universe. Then we have got electrochemical and photochemical nitrogen fixation. In this process, atmospheric nitrogen combines with the oxygen during lightning or electrical discharge in the clouds and produces different nitrogen oxides. So these are the different reactions which you will find that nitrogen gets converted first into NO, then this NO will again combine with the oxygen to form NO2, then this NO2 gets converted into N2O5, and these nitrogen oxides get dissolved into the rainwater, and on reaching the earth surface, they react with the mineral compounds to form nitrates and other nitrogenous compounds. So N2O5 will combine with the rainwater, it will form HNO3, which will then react with calcium carbonate and form the calcium nitrate, which will be then released into the soil, and then it will be taken up with the plants. Then industrial nitrogen fixation. Industrial nitrogen fixation, it is done in the fertilizer manufacturing industries, in which nitrogen and hydrogen from atmosphere is used to form ammonia, and which is then further used to manufacture fertilizers such as urea, ammonium, nitrates, etc. And under great pressure at a temperature of about 400 to 600 centigrade, and with the use of an iron catalyst, hydrogen and atmospheric nitrogen can be combined to form ammonia in the Haber-Bosch process. So this is all about the industrial nitrogen fixation of the nitrogen. Then the ammonification. It's a very important process when plants or animals die, and also from animal excreta, the nitrogen present in the organic matter is released back into the soil. The decomposers, namely bacteria or fungi, they present in the soil convert the organic matter back into the ammonium. This process of decomposition produces ammonia, which is further used for other biological processes. The microorganisms especially involved are Actinomycetes and Bacilli, and so you will have different types of the bacteria like Bacillus ramosus, Bacillus vulgaris, Bacillus mesentericus, etc. So they all help in the ammonification process in the soil. Then you will have one more process, what we call as nitrification. In this process, the ammonia is converted into nitrate by the process of bacteria in the soil. Nitrates are formed by the oxidation of ammonia with the help of Nitrosomonas bacteria. Later, they produce nitrites are converted into nitrates by Nitrobacter. This conversion is very important as ammonia gas is toxic for the plants. The reaction involves the process of nitrification is as follows. That means ammonia will combine with the oxygen, then it will form NO2, and then NO2 will combine with the oxygen and it will form nitrate, and then this in the soil, this is the reaction which is being shown on this slide. You will find that ammonium gets converted into nitrous dioxide, and nitrosomonas and nitrococcus, they help in this conversion. And then in the ocean also you will find that nitrobacter and nitrocysts they convert this NO2 into the nitrates, and this is all about the nitrification. It's a very important process in the soil being done by the different types of the bacteria. So this is all. Then we have got the nitrogen assimilation also. In this process, inorganic nitrogen in the form of nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia is absorbed by the green plants. So primary producers, when they take up this nitrogen from the soil, we call it nitrogen assimilation, and they do it by through roots, and then they convert it into nitrogenous organic compounds. Nitrates are first converted into ammonia, which combine with the organic acids to form amino acids. Amino acids are then used in the synthesis of proteins, enzymes, chlorophylls, nucleic acid, etc. So this way it enters the food web when the primary consumers eat the plants. So this is all about the nitrogen assimilation. Then we have got a very important process, what we call as denitrification. Denitrification is the process in which the nitrogen compounds make their way back into the atmosphere by converting nitrates into gaseous nitrogen. This process of nitrogen cycle is the final stage and occurs in the absence of oxygen. Denitrification is carried out by the denitrifying bacteria species like Clostridium and Pseudomonas, which will process nitrates to gain oxygen and give out free nitrogen as a byproduct. So other denitrifying bacteria which are found in the soil like Thiolobacillus denitrificans, Micrococcus denitrificans, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, they are all very important bacteria, and they help in the conversion of these compounds back into the nitrogen which moves into the atmosphere. So this is all about the nitrogen cycle. Then the nitrogen cycle in the marine ecosystem. The process of nitrogen occurs in the same manner in the marine ecosystems as in the terrestrial ecosystem. The only difference is that it's carried out by marine bacteria, and the nitrogen containing compounds fall into the ocean as sediments get compressed over long periods and form sedimentary rocks. So in the oceans, you will also find that nitrogen gets stored in the sedimentary rocks. Then the sedimentation, finally, sediment, sometimes the nitrates of the soil are locked up in the rocks while they are washed down into the sea or leached deeply into the earth along with the percolating water. This phenomenon is known as the sedimentation. Then human influence, they also influence the nitrogen cycle but negatively, and you will find that the fertilizers are very important. They contain nitrates. If excess nitrates gets into the water environment, can kill algae, which decrease the amount of oxygen. So this is one human interference. Then fossil fuels also, because burning of the fossil fuels, they emit a lot of nitrous oxides and other nitrogenous compounds which will form acid rain, and they can then hamper the plant and the entire ecosystem. So finally, in the conclusion, nitrogen, though abundant in the atmosphere, cannot be used by the plants or animals unless converted into nitrogenous compounds. For the conversion of atmospheric diazotrophs like nitrogen-fixing bacteria, they play a very important and crucial role. Usable nitrogen compounds are absorbed by the plants through their roots and then converted into proteins and other compounds in the plant cell. Animals and humans assimilate nitrogen proteins by consuming these plants or other animals. The nitrogen then assimilates into our body system. Bacteria and fungi also help decompose organic matter during the final stage of the nitrogen cycle, where the nitrogenous compounds get dissolved into the soil, which is again used by the plants. Then denitrifying bacteria then decompose these nitrogenous compounds in the soil and turn into the nitrogen gas. Eventually, it gets back into the atmosphere. These sets of the processes repeat continuously and thus maintain the percentage of the nitrogen in the atmosphere. So thank you, students, for watching this video. All the best. Take care.